So today I'm going to be telling you exactly why you should stop using Airbnb's smart pricing. So, two listings, both listings located in the exact same city, in the exact same neighborhood. We're going to call this Windsor 1 and Windsor 2. Both of these listings are one of the top performing properties in the entire city. And what I did last month, something very fun. I set one listing to be operating using Airbnb's smart pricing, and then the other, what I usually use, something like Price Labs. And I wanted to see numerically how this would actually affect my future bookings. Okay, because my listings tend to be quite booked out anywhere from 30 to 60 days in advance, I did a test to see what new reservations would come and what would the average price be for these new reservations in a 30-day window. My name is George. I operate close to 20 short-term rental properties all over Canada and down south in Florida. I also built a software called MagicBnB used by hundreds of short-term rental operators right now, which puts all the hidden numbers and metrics of your entire short-term rental business right in front of you, so it's easier to see and easier to track and find gaps within your business. Anyways, let's get into exactly what this video is going to be about. Because here's what most hosts think about pricing tools. They think that all the pricing tools that you have are all the same, and then they think that a free version that comes with Airbnb is going to operate just the same as the version on the $20 a month version like Price Labs or Wheelhouse or any of these other softwares. And that's really just not the case. Hosts using third-party softwares actually see a 36% increase in revenue on average. And that's not a Price Labs marketing claim. That's actually an independent study done for over 1,000 listings in about 50 different countries. So with that being said, the gap between free and paid pricing could equate to about 36% of revenue being lost for most hosts or people who just don't use this at all. I call this a smart pricing ceiling trap. So here's how it works. You set a minimum price, let's just say $200 a night. And you'd think that that's your lowest price that you're not going to be able to charge, or the smart pricing system won't charge anything lower than that. However, smart pricing, Airbnb smart pricing, can and often does price your listing below your minimum stated listing just so it can try to get you booked. And the thing is, it doesn't announce this. It just does this because it wants to try to get you booked. And you might be thinking, isn't that a good thing? I want to get booked. No, because what your goal isn't to get booked at the lowest pricing possible. Your goal is to get booked at the highest agreeable price and make a profit. If you set your minimum, the minimum amount of money you're willing to take for a night at $200 because you looked at all your costs, and anything lower, you're losing money. Now, when Airbnb or Airbnb smart pricing actually lowers it below that, you're actually losing money per reservation. So yes, you get the booking confirmation, but you're not actually making money at the end of the month. And I'm sure we're both on the same page when we say that we both want to be making money at the end of the month. And the reason this happens is because Airbnb smart pricing prioritizes occupancy over revenue. And that's a very, very important distinction. It would rather have your calendar filled at 60% of what the price you want to be at than having you at the price that you want but completely empty. That logic makes sense for Airbnb because they were trying to get people to book houses, but it doesn't make sense for you revenue-wise. And that's where a software like Price Labs comes in. Nearby events and competitive pricing. So it takes a bunch of different data sets to be able to amalgamate all of that into what your pricing should be. And this changes almost daily. So the goal here for Price Labs is not to get you occupied, but it's to price you in a competitive place compared to your competitors. So when you get booked, you're getting booked at the best possible price that somebody's willing to pay. That's the fundamental difference. And it does this all automatically. Price Labs will cost you anywhere from $19 to $20 per month per listing. So it's no flat fee, no percentage. Honestly, just makes sense. If you're making anywhere from $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month, spending an extra $20, $40, $60 per month, depending on how many listings you have, on a software like this that could boost your revenue on average, according to some statistics, about 30 to 40% is genuinely worth it. That rate, it just basically pays for itself within days. And in Price Labs, there are 3 settings that I set that are must-have settings for every single one of my listings. Number one is base price. The base price is basically on any given day, what is the base amount you're willing to charge for your listing. And what Price Labs will do will base everything, all its pricing based off of that. So let's just say on any given day, there's a 10% increase in demand, then it's going to increase that base price by 10%. And if there's a 10% decrease in demand, it will decrease that also by 10%. So it will always just flutter around that base price depending on what's happening throughout the season, throughout the week, whether there's an event or not, it's going to move off that base price. The second thing that is a must-have is your minimum day settings. So Price Labs allows me to set a minimum, for example, 2-day minimum on the weekends and then a 1 day on the weekdays. And I can set that in perpetuity. That way I'm not getting one night reservations on a weekend when usually the reservations that I want are 2, 3, and up. So it allows you to set those minimums. And not only can you do that, you can set rules where anything below, let's just say a week out, that 2-night minimum for a weekend now turns into a 1-night minimum. So now if you're coming up and it's a week away and your weekend is still available, and it's probably because you have that 2-night booking or that 2-night minimum, it now removes that 2-night minimum and has a 1-night minimum, anything under a week, allowing you to be more flexible depending on the availability, depending on the occupancy of your listing, to take the 2-night bookings that you want, or be a little bit more flexible to take 1-night bookings when the days are getting a little bit closer. So it allows for this sort of dynamics in your pricing that you can set once. Of course, I recommend reviewing it every 30, 60, 90 days just to make sure that things are aligned, especially as you go into high season or low season. You want to make some adjustments, but it allows you to no longer focus on the day-to-day kind of managing of your 2-night minimums and 1-night minimums depending on demand, because this will do all of that for you. And the third one that I have, which is very, very important for me at least, is the Orphan gap settings. So you know how I told you just a couple minutes ago that I had a 2-night minimum either for the weekends, or sometimes I even set it in some of my listings on the weekday as well. What happens if you now have 1 night in between 2 stays that are available? So let's just say your Wednesday is available, but someone booked Thursday and someone booked Tuesday, and just your one Wednesday is available. If you only have a 2-night minimum, then there's not much you can do. It's not going to be able to show. What Price Labs allows you to do is set a rule where if that does happen and you have that Orphan gap, because it's not attached to any other reservation, it's just one open day, it now drops the 2-night minimum and allows a 1-night minimum for that specific situation that happens. This way you're not ever in a situation where you're now blocked out because you only have 1 day available but you have a 2-night minimum. So the customizability is just way more proficient in a software where you maybe have to pay a little bit more, but it allows you to do significantly more and gives you more options to be able to make more money. Another really cool thing as well that you want to keep in mind is that if you have multiple platforms, Airbnb, VRBO, and Booking.com, if you set your smart pricing on Airbnb, that does not translate over to VRBO and Booking.com. That's only for Airbnb. So you have to do the exact same thing on VRBO and Booking.com. And now you're getting into a game that nobody wants to play. Whereas with Price Labs, you can set it on Price Labs, use a PMS like Hospitable, and now you can have it set. Every time you make a change on Price Labs, it will automatically populate on every single platform as well. So just a quick tip there. So back to the situation with both of my houses. And what happened was my reservations, as I assumed would happen, actually dropped about 20 to 30%. The reason this was because Airbnb smart pricing wasn't prioritizing revenue. It wasn't looking at booking demand in a specific area. It wasn't looking at any events. It wasn't looking at seasonality. It wasn't looking at competitor pricing. It was just trying to get me booked. Whereas Price Labs has all these features. So what was happening is I was actually underselling my own listing to be able to get more bookings. So my occupancy was higher, but my revenue was significantly lower. And at the end of the day, I care more about revenue and profits and making money in my listings so that I have a business that continues more than I care about having 100% occupancy month over month. So because of this, I've now been able to actually test it. And that's why I want to let you know that, hey, if you're on the fence between using a third-party software or using Airbnbs will not help you. Okay, it's not actually meant for that. It's meant to just get you booked. So if you're a beginner, not really knowing what you're doing, and you don't want to make any money, you just want to get occupied, then yeah. But I see that as a wrong metric to be looking at. You want to maximize revenue every single time. So my honest take is this: if you're using something like Airbnb smart pricing, stop. Use a third-party software for your pricing. There are some times where you want to cheap out and, you know, be a little bit more conservative with your spending. This is not one of those moments. This is one of those moments where you want to use the best tool, you want to use the best software for yourself, for your business, because you're investing in your business. Because if you invest in your business and you take care of your business, in turn, one day your business will take care of you. And that's exactly why you want to be using the top quality softwares. And in this case, for my personal use, I use something like PriceLabs. But I'd like to hear your take on it. What do you guys think about using something like PriceLabs? Or if you do already use something like Airbnb Smart Pricing, and let me know, has that worked for you in the past? Are you looking at switching over? I'd like to engage with my viewers and see what they're using on a day-to-day, and if PriceLabs is worth it for them, for the ones that are using it, and if maybe smart pricing does work and I'm maybe mistaken. I'd love to hear more. If you have any other questions, please ask them in the comment section below. I love to make videos just giving you guys information and giving you guys just free sauce about what tools, what softwares work in 2026 and how you can make more money. Okay, see you on the next one.